It's very topical here, but I followed you did an amazing presentation called the Solar Shoes of Death a number of years ago. I watched that multiple times, and then actually just before the pandemic started, we had the big bushfires in Australia at the end of 2019, 2020. And they've widely been exposed as being deliberately lit and connection with the smart rail. But what they did, I remember watching on TV, and they did a big memorial for the bushfires and the fire, and they brought out the firefighters' shoes, and they were the front picture. And I know you've explained this before. It's kind of classical conditioning. It's kind of like Pavlov's dog. But do you want to explain to the Masonic purpose for the shoes? I mean, we won't go right into it, but if you just explain like where you first stumbled on because I was really fascinated when I saw that presentation.
Yeah, I think the shoes are really interesting as well. I had no idea, once again, but I know this is my path. I fumble around, stumble around, and then suddenly like, what the hell? But I don't want to underestimate myself as well, because I'm like Rain Man in this area. Yeah. So it's a matter of a combo of so I've looked into hundreds of cases, and I started seeing these shoes that were lying around like so many times. They're just shoes, and very often trainers, and most of the time Nike. And normally, let's say I've been shot at or whatever, I mean, I don't sit down and take off my shoes and then start running. I would just go for it. I would even keep them on, because most people are more comfortable with running shoes. And here they were lying again and again and again, so many times, like a plane crash, alleged plane crash or whatever. And the photo is not of the plane, but of a shoe. Yeah, and if it was an emotional thing, it would be a kid's shoe, a burnt little, and with a drop of blood on or something to get. So I got fascinated by these shoes, and I started collecting them. I have like the world's biggest research vault, which I'm happy to share if anybody is. It's more than 5 terabytes. I've got it on external hard drives. It's my whole life work, perfectly organized. Please contact me if you're interested. info@lightonconspiracies.com. So I started putting like hundreds of shoes into these folders, and just like, what is going on? I don't understand, but here they are, here they are, here they are, here they are, again and again. And in Melbourne, my God, you had shoes all over the place. And often when I checked the victims or people that have officially been killed, 1 shoe off, 2 shoes off, but the number of shoes never matched up with the ones that were lying around. So it wasn't like this woman had only 1 shoe left, she had a red shoe on, so the other red shoe was over there. No, not at all. And these were sometimes outside the crime scene. They were just lying, and the police didn't touch them. Very odd. And it's one thing if it happened once, but if it's up in the hundreds, something is going on. So I started doing shows just saying, I don't know, but what is going on with these shoes? And this led to me being contacted by a person, still don't know who the individual is, but I'm very grateful, an insider who said, you're doing well, but you have to understand what you're talking about. I said, please inform me. And so he said, these are Freemasonic symbols, and these events are Freemasonic rituals very, very often, satanic rituals, where 1 shoe off, just like the Freemasons have in their own rituals, 1 shoe off means that this person is doing it voluntarily, often with 1 trouser leg up as well. You will see that on many victims as well, 1 trouser leg up. 2 shoes off means homage to the sacred space where this takes place. So I thought, okay, I did not know, but that makes a lot of sense here. So I started talking about that. And then the shoes also have a very symbolic meaning in many different cultures. And also a lot of it with the Kabbalah, and also Israel, we're back there again. The Holocaust, the alleged Holocaust, the official name is Shoah. Shua, and they have like the symbol of death that has been connected to the Holocaust is their shoes. There are these mountains of shoes saying this is the proof of 1 million people died. As a forensic
like in Budapest, yeah, in Budapest, they're all on the river.
Budapest, near the Donau River, you got them. But it's in many different places where the shoes says death. And when I think it started at least with the Holocaust, but it was before that as well. But the Holocaust was the big breakthrough when our subconscious started connecting shoes with dead people. And when you look at it from a forensic point of view, that pile of shoes doesn't prove that the owners died. It means that a lot of shoes have been put in a pile. That's the only proof it is. I'm not saying they didn't die. I'm saying it doesn't prove anything. But the shoes were boosted with this whole thing. And I've been around to death camps and stuff like that, and former concentration camps, also been totally taken in by these piles of shoes. I've had tears in my eyes, I completely bought into it. And then I started seeing that something completely different is going on. And so I was doing a show together with Cody Snodgrass. You mentioned him before. He was a black op for more than 20 years, and he was into many, many different areas, also MK Ultra, very switched on individual from the inside, very skilled in psychological operations and so we were talking about these shoes, and he said, listen, I think there's a whole different level to this that you might not have considered. I said, please teach me, tell me. And he said, in MK Ultra, which is mind control, many times the reason for mind control is to be able to control the mind of that individual so that you can get them to do what you want them to do. Become assassins, become patsies, do whatever. Things like that. Mind control. They really want to get into a mind and try to control it with manipulation in different ways. So Cody said that the way that they break down individuals to become mind control assets is that they handpick people that are very easily hypnotized or
suggestion. Yeah.
There you go. Open to suggestion. And we are very different as individuals to these type of things, but they handpick them. And then some of these poor buggers are put through absolute hell. I mean, literally incredible pain, incredible traumas, rape, whatever, because they found out during the 50s and 60s, CIA and these bizarre laboratories, that if you put people through traumatic events that are painful enough, your personality will just say, I can't take this anymore, I'm out. And boom, suddenly a second personality is created, completely different from the first one. So they found out through drugs and torture that they could get people to create multiple personalities inside them. So they needed some kind of switch, some trigger, so that they could actively say switch on, switch off, like that. And what they found was that if they kept the same pattern every time, then in the end, the pattern could be the trigger. For instance, while being tortured, they could play over and over again while these people were going through absolute hell. In the end, all they needed was to put on Mary Had a Little Lamb. No more torture needed, but the person would switch into the second personality. Or it could be an upside down dolphin. It could be anything like that. They call it a trigger. You would see that in many Hollywood movies where sleeper cell, some assassin, that doesn't even know that he is an assassin. Maybe he's a car mechanic. He's working as the normal day. The phone call rings. He picks it up. Mary Had a Little Lamb. And suddenly he goes into like a completely different shift and go off and kill someone. Then to come back and get reactivated again, not knowing that he just did that. So the trigger, very important. So Cody, former Black Op, suggested that the shoe could very well be a mind control trigger. on a global scale, because it's beyond languages, it's beyond, it can be used anywhere. And so if you have something connected with death, that's a traumatic thing for us. But at the same time, we're drawn to our own destruction. That's why people are really fascinated with train wrecks and car accidents and stuff like that. So we don't want to see blood, but we keep looking. And, oh my God, once we see it, that's the traumatic, boom, impact. Then I've spoken to psychologists, and they say our eyes are then trying to find something familiar to rest on, get away from the trauma. And so if you put something familiar that does not look hostile in any way, like a neutral thing, like a shoe, that if that has been connected with these type of traumatic events over and over again, it would be a second impact. It would just amplify the impact. You think yourself, instead, boom. And
it's particularly when they do it on a news clip, because you have the shoe, and then you got the emotional triggered response, and then they go to the advertisement or the introduction of what they want the solution to be. And I mean, I saw this so many times after I watched your presentation. It was just amazing. How often?
I mean, I put a lot of effort into spreading the shoes to the world.
Thank you. I do appreciate it.
And so people are aware of it now, I tell you. So, because once you start seeing it, it doesn't make any sense. Why are they filming shoes? Why are they, but the shoes, like terror bomb in Kabul, and you look around, there's, all these kind of things and blood and that, and then they focus in on a shoe. Or a truck attack, or a terror attack, or a Melbourne attack, this and this, and then the camera goes down and it's on the shoe. Or the victims have one shoe off, two shoes off. How is that even possible?
Sometimes the news headline is just like terror attack, and it just has a shoe, nothing else.
I know. If anyone who doubts me, please go to Google Images, Dayton, Ohio. The shooting in Dayton, Ohio. There's like 48 shoes in a parking lot just lying there, and they say this is the proof of the mass shooting. Brand new shoes. I mean, it's just a pile of shoes. That's how sick we are. But anyway, so the shoes have been connected to all different areas that is connected to death. Illegal immigrants that are drowning in the Mediterranean, women being beaten to death in their homes, rape, so many different airplane crashes where the focus is on the shoe. You see the smoking debris of a plane. Yes or no? Was there a plane? Was there not? Sometimes, I tell you, you have to ask yourself. And then the
missing children, they do it. Missing children a lot, too, with this shoe.
Missing children, you have in nature parks in the US, the national parks, a lot of the children are missing. The shoes are left. It's like the shoes. And then if that is correct, that this one triggers you with your subconscious, because they want us fearful at all times, if that is the case, then what do you do in the morning? You put on the radio, you listen to the latest news, mass shooting, oh my God. Well, the news is always negative, if you haven't noticed. It's more or less always negative and fear-based. And then you put on the shoes. That's the first thing you do in the morning before you leave. So you look at the shoes, your subconscious gets triggered. You're under stress and financial pressure, whatever, many of us. And then you drive down the highway. How many times have you seen there's one shoe lying there on the highway? One shoe. Who dropped it? Yeah. So it's the cheapest psychological operation ever. They just throw out one sneaker there and another one on the other side. That will affect like thousands of people on a daily basis.
I've always wondered that. Do you think they are actually going out and positioning shoes out in the public? Because you see that all the time.
The answer is yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how easy is it? How easy is it? Drop a shoe out, it will stay there forever, and every single one, a shoe. Who dropped that? Why is it trigger?
And I mean, this goes into even how they're using product placement in these false flag attacks too. And we just had another bus crash in Australia, and he's come straight out today holding a big Coles I mean, we even had the Lint Cafe. The Sydney Siege here was called the Lint Sydney Siege. Can't believe how they.
What was he carrying out?
He had a Coles is a big supermarket franchise in Australia. There was this big bus attack last week, and he's come out wearing a black hood. He's got eyes almost like the Grim Reaper, and he's holding the bag directly in the middle of the photo. And I saw it this morning, and I'm like, that's kind of how you talk about product placement. And
please send that to me.
I will.
That is exactly how they do it. The product placement is very often near the blood, whatever thing has happened, so that your eyes are focused on the terror, and right next to it is an Adidas bag or a Nike shoe or so that your eyes trying to avoid it, and boom, you get it. So not only do you get the fear thing, you also get product placement.
It's like ISIS was sponsored by Toyota, Toyota truck.
Every single vehicle. I've pointed that out 100 times. You tell me one photo of ISIS where it's not a Toyota. And so a friend of mine contacted Toyota and said, how on earth can you supply this biggest threat to humanity ever with your cars? And they said, we have not sold a single one. So who bought them? The US State Department. I rest my case. Monuments put front pen to paper, chance me